All right. Hey guys, we are Freddy and Andressa, and this is your Methodology Mondays. Welcome back for one more live video.
Hey guys, we hope you had a great start of the week. We are here today to give you some tips that we think are gonna help you out to build a very effective, very well thought out Brazilian Zouk class in an event. So a festival, a congress, a workshop where you're gonna have a more limited time with your students. So again, this is not a live about regular classes. This is more about classes that we're gonna run in events, right? So there's a difference. And if you guys want, you can let us know if you want to know about regular classes.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. As we said, about any other thing, you can always suggest, and then we can talk about it in the live that we make on Mondays.
Yeah. So we are live here on YouTube. We are also live in our community, in our group, Zouk Methodology by FNA. So again, guys, we are multi-streaming, so I have two cameras in front of me. If you see my eyes getting lost, bear with me, right?
About any other thing, you can always suggest.
So you can comment here during our live, during our conversation. You can ask questions. You can tell us your inputs, what you think about it, that you agree, you don't agree. So if you're a student, if you're not an instructor, these are also good tips for you to recognize a good class, because sometimes you want to see which class is going to be good for you, for your development. So you can also try and see if the classes that you're taking have these key points that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, everything that is going to help you out, because when you go to as a student, right, when you go to a class, what you want is that you leave that class with something learned, right? That you, of course, that maybe you're not going to get 100% because the time is short, but you want to take something out of it, So you don't want to leave just like, okay, I took 1 hour here and maybe I got 10%. It's too low, 10%.
10%, not enough, really not enough. So guys, invite your friends to watch and hit the like button right now so you don't forget at the end, right? We know that we forget at the end, so give us some heart, give us some love, hit the like button if you are in YouTube or Facebook. So we are gonna get started with our first tip for you to build, for you to prepare a very good, thought out, well-structured Brazilian Zouk class in an event or congress. So, you want to say something?
No, let's do it.
Okay, so let's go ahead.
Yeah, let's go straight to the point, so then we get the message delivered.
Yeah, so tip number 1. So plan for 10 to 15 minutes less than the scheduled time. So what does that mean? So for example, if you have a class that has a 60-minute duration in that event, you have to plan your content for around 45 minutes. We like to plan for 45 minutes, right? 50 minutes, I think it's already risky, okay? So we plan a content and we structure this content in a way that we can deliver it effectively in 45 minutes if I have a 60-minute class.
Yeah, there are some things to consider when you do this, because you have 1 hour class, and then if you plan to deliver all the message you have in this class with 40 minutes, 45 minutes, it's going to be safe for you to have some extra time in the end like if you want to perform a demo, if you want to show the steps, the content you did in the class in your free dance, in your freestyle, then you're gonna have, because the song is gonna be maybe more 3 minutes or maybe 5 depending on the song. And also like some people that come and want some question or some photos and things. And one important thing, you are always following any schedule in the event. And your fellow colleague that's going to teach right after you wants to start their classes in time. They don't want to start late because you didn't manage your time, right? So this is very important too, that you manage the time you have so you don't compromise the event schedule and you don't compromise the next teacher that is going to teach after you.
Yeah, it's going to tell a lot about your professionalism as well.
Yeah.
If you are able to do that, right? So you stay on schedule, and if your message is well delivered within these 45 minutes, so you can calmly do your demonstration, give your final messages, take pictures, or record the resume of the recap. The recap of the content that you guys went through during the class. So always plan for actually less time than you have, right? So this is something that we take into consideration a lot. And to have less time, so to have 45 minutes to deliver a content, you have to make sure that it's well broken down and the information is very straightforward. So have in mind that you won't have a follow-up of that information, more likely, right? It's a class on an event. So maybe a big part of the group won't take more classes with you because they want to also experiment other teachers, or you're going to give one class per level, let's say. So you won't have probably a follow-up of that information in a long time maybe, right? So it's not something that you can do progressively and finish the information or go deeper in another class, because usually you have a theme for each class. So it's a little bit different. So we have to make sure that in 45 minutes, we are pretty straightforward and the information has structure so it can be well understood in that time. So this is a very good training, guys, when you are preparing your class, to train to deliver good and clear information in a straightforward way in a short time. 45 minutes for a dance class is a short time, right?
Yeah, and also there are some people that already try to do kind of like a progressive way, because for example, you have 3 classes in the event, and then you do one part in the first class, and then the second class you kind of continue what we were doing, then the third one you also continue from there. But the problem is that you cannot assume that those same people are going to be in all the 3 classes.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have completely 3 different groups with a few ones that are in the same class, in all of the classes. So then your progression is not going to be understood by everyone. So it's better that you take each class as one class, and then you have your beginning, your process, and your ending in every single class. Then you make one big thing dividing in 3 parts in this example where you have 3 classes, because it's not going to be like you are in your school, that you're going to have that same group in the class if you run the school like this, because people also have different ways, right? But if you have like your closed group that is with you in your school, you can do this follow-up, which is going to be much easier to work. But in the event, you unfortunately don't have that option.
Yeah, the most common format is a format that you won't be able to do a follow-up on that information. So it's good that it has a beginning and an end in 45 minutes, so you can be free to demo, photo, do your merch if you have to do your merch, and also talk and connect to people a little bit at the end, right? Not compromising.
Some extra questions that can come up or we don't know.
Not compromising the time that your colleagues are gonna have after you, right? So we got it. I hope you all have your notebooks. You are taking the notes, and also if you have questions, please let us know. And we are going to move forward to tip number 2, right?
Let's go.
So break down in a way that every piece makes sense. So they have to make sense. So the breakdown of the information that you're giving, we usually don't give the information at once, right?
Yeah.
So first thing is very important to break down the information.
Yeah.
Right? So make sure that you have this information well broken down, but break it down in a way that every piece makes sense. So we are gonna have to do in a way that we have a beginning and an end for each piece, right? So it has to make sense, that beginning at that and that end. Because what happens? It may happens that like you don't get as far as you planned, and then the information is not there in the middle of the way, right?
Yeah, this is something really important to consider, because you should always plan your class beforehand, but you need to be careful not to lock yourself in what you planned, because as Andressa was saying, maybe you don't get to the ending point, or as far as you thought you would get, but you have to have the structure of your class is planned, and then from there you're gonna play around. But it's good that you break down in ways that you can escalate how you progress during the class, because maybe you're gonna, let's say that you broke down the entire content in 5 pieces, but then you got only to the 3rd piece, and that's enough. That's all right, because that was what the development of that group allowed you to do. If you go further than that, maybe you're gonna attend, I don't know, maybe 15% of the group, but then it's a too small amount, and this 50%, they are already taking benefit from the whole thing you did until the 3rd step where you broke down. So it's good that you have these steps, to escalate. Then you see where to stop, or if you can keep going. So it's better that you have more steps than you probably will use.
So it happens sometimes with us that, for example, if we're teaching something that has a piece that is more complicated, but this piece is not necessarily like in the beginning, it's like in the middle or in the end. Sometimes we can break down that piece, isolate, and teach that first.
Yeah.
So it's not in an order, but again, it has a beginning and an end that makes sense. So if you have to spend the whole class in that piece because it gave us more, it was more challenging to explain than we thought it would be previously, it's still gonna make sense, even if we only do that piece and a little bit more, right? So all the pieces, they have to make sense isolated as well. So if you have to teach the end first and then go back to the beginning, that end alone also makes sense. You know what? I hope I'm making myself clear.
Yeah. The piece, that isolated piece, it's still as an isolated piece. You can begin, you can have the process, and you can have the ending.
Yeah.
So there is a whole conclusion in that piece. Then you're gonna connect to the whole thing that you plan.
And there is a useful concept, useful information in that piece as well. So people can really get the most out of your class, right? So try and have a possible ending, a wrap up for each section of your breakdown, right? So this is something that is important. So your students can get useful info from all of them, like throughout the movement or the concept that you are working with, right?
Yeah, because if you don't do this, what is the risk you are taking? So you plan the class and you divide it like in three pieces, or in 5 pieces. 5 pieces. That's what I said before, right? So you do it in 5 pieces, but then you don't plan the conclusion of each piece. This means that you have to get to the 5th piece, otherwise you don't conclude the content. And then let's say that the group is not developing as you expected, then you get yourself in trouble, because now you need to come up with an ending, but then maybe it's not going to be the best ending it could be if you had planned before. It's just something like, let's do it like this just to solve now this situation. Yeah. Of course, like you solved the situation, but you didn't make the best class you could have made if you had planned before. Yeah. So, as I said, if you end up getting to the 3rd step where you broke down, this 3rd step has a conclusion. So then the whole group got the first step with the conclusion, so it's already worth it, the class. So then they developed well, so they got to the second step and they got a second conclusion. So now they have two ways to enjoy the content that you deliver in that class. And then you get to the third. So now they have three ways to enjoy the same content you delivered in that class. So if they are developing well, you keep going. But then you start reaching levels that at some point the general crowd, like the majority, is not gonna be able to follow anymore. Then is the moment to stop. You don't go more. Then work on the details. Work on the details, refine. Yeah, adjust, tune things here and there.
We love this word, right?
Yeah.
Refine.
It's better than just go and go and go and go and go, and then everything is kind of more or less.
Yes. So tip number 3, can we move on?
Yes.
Yeah. So tip number 3 is consider the level of the class, but also the level of the group that is in the class. So for us who are used to the congresses, we know that not everybody go to their own level in the congresses or events, right? They follow the teacher, they follow
the theme
of the class, right? They follow the time that they have free, maybe the schedule, right? So of course you have to plan your class, your content, to match the level of the class that was assigned to you or that you asked for. But make sure that you don't get stuck at it in a way that you don't respect the level of the people that are actually taking your class. So if you are giving an advanced class, but you realize that the majority of the class is not advanced, don't insist on really pushing through a really advanced thing, or
in a very complicated, difficult thing, not accessible for that group.
They will not get, that's what Freddy was saying. If over half of the people don't have the ability to follow, you're not going to have a successful class. So if we do this breakdown that we talked about in the beginning, and in each part of the breakdown there is a useful concept, there is a useful information for every level, we usually try to do this, right? Regardless the level of our class, there's always some information that is going to be useful for every level of dancer, because what we focus on is much more giving something that you're going to be able to use and apply on the dance floor to make you a better dancer and to give you a better understanding of what Brazilian Zouk is, than to give you a figure, right? To give you a pattern. So make sure that, of course, you're going to plan for the level of your class, but as Freddy said, don't get stuck into your plan. So develop the ability of adapt your plan to everything. So to the time that you have, to the group that you have, right? So, and to the pace as well that the people are going to give you, because sometimes the crowd end up dictating also the pace. So when we see that a concept is very important and it's not being well, it's not coming through very well, we don't just forget about it. We try and change a little bit the way we are explaining or the examples and things like this, because it's too important to let it slide, so we really prefer to change a little bit our plan and spend a little bit more time on that, because it's gonna be useful later on the dance floor at the party, then just move forward because the class is advanced and we have to deliver advanced information, right?
Yeah, it's better that you find all the ways to access the people and then deliver the content. But of course, the experience is going to play a huge role in this, because then if you try you have maybe, let's say, if you plan the 45 minutes, if you take 30 minutes just to figure out how to access people, now you have very little time for your class. Then it's, of course, the experience is going to help a lot, because you are more comfortable in this kind of situation, and then you have so many options to take and solve that that you're gonna be able to try out many of them without without people realize that you're trying a different way. They're just getting a new information. That's what they feel. And that's actually what you are doing, really. Although you are also trying in the background to access them better. But it's like it's not the point that it's an advanced class and then you try to push advanced or complicated figure or something when people are clearly not being able to do that. It's that thing. You're gonna finish your class. You did an advanced class like the level of the class suggested, but in the end your class was like it failed, because people 80% of the class left without getting anything or seeing a nice movement that they could not do. So it was frustrating in the end. So it's the same that if it's something that's more for beginners and you are pushing too high because you want to do something nice, and then or show something nice, but the crowd in that class is not ready to do that. So it's both ways.
Yeah. So guys, connecting to that, the tip number 4 is to make sure the concepts are clear. So especially in each step of the breakdown. So we are back to the breakdown, right? But what we mean about the concepts are clear. For us, again, it's more important to give you concepts and tools for you to better your dancing than to deliver a pattern, right? So in congresses, we have 2 types of classes, right? You can have a class that is a conceptual class, or it's all about the concept and it's concept only, like labs, exercises, and all that. And we have the more traditional classes that revolves more around the patterns. Even when we give a class that is pattern based, so we bring a pattern to you guys, we are not focused, me and Freddy, we are not focused on the pattern itself. What is important for us is to deliver the concepts that are built in that pattern.
They are being applied to the movement.
We choose a pattern more as an exemplification in a way to show how those concepts are applied instead of just exercise the concept like with exercises. Those are very good, but again, in a congress we won't be able to follow through with that information to see how you guys are applying that information on the dance floor. So we are already bring an example that on how those concepts are applied, right? But the most important things for us is to make sure that the crowd, that the class understood the concepts that are being applied. So whether it is like contractions and extensions, head movements, suspensions and landings,
lines, directions,
lines and directions. So even if the pattern is not being executed, or if we during our breakthrough don't get to the end of the pattern that we planned, again, in each part of the breakdown, the concept was there, was present, and it was clear, right? So this is the most important thing for us. And I think this is what makes a good class. You are not just learning a movement, right? You are making sure that you are understanding what is making that movement work, what is making that pattern work, right? What is behind the build of that pattern, right? So that's why we usually have in that breakdown
is the
raw movement, that we say, like the raw structure of the movement, the basic concepts that there are in that raw structure of the movement. Then after that we go to the more complex structure of the movement that may have other concepts on top of that, right? So we always start like this.
Yeah, because for us it's important that you understand the following, not that you understand how that movement, that figure works, is that where that figure came from. What elements are we using in that figure? Okay, so there is a head movement in this figure, but this comes from where? What is the base of this? Like, for example, you are learning how to do a balão apagado, for example, and then we need you to understand that, okay, there is a peão that was involved in this rotation. There was a footwork that works in the following way. There is a tilt being applied. There are references being applied. So you understand the whole foundation of that movement until we get to that point. So the movements there are that take part of the whole thing to become a balão apagado, for example, or any other one. That was just an example. So then you understand the concepts, you understand the structure, you understand the basis, the foundations, where it comes from, how it was built, how you got to this. Then it's something that you can work by yourself afterwards.
Yeah.
It's not something that we gave you this figure, now you learn that one, like you memorize how it's done, you understood the mechanism, the mechanics of the movement, and now you just reproduce it, and that's it. The other way, you're gonna get the tools, and you're gonna be able to go beyond, to keep going, transforming and getting in different ways, because you have the tools now. The way you're gonna mount it, now you're gonna be creative about it.
And even like you're gonna have the ability to recognize those concepts and those elements in other movements that you already did, or that you want to do, that you want to learn, and then it's gonna be easier to learn those other movements in the beginning, right? So the patterns itself, they are only tools that we use to either like refine or introduce concepts or work on concepts, and of course that you're gonna also make your repertoire of combinations bigger, which is nice because then you can use your creativity, you can explore more the dance. But the most important thing is the concept, because that's what's gonna make you better as a dancer, right? Not just like reproduce steps, reproduce figures. So this is like something that you guys can have as a principle when building your class. Which is the concept that I want them to take out of this class? That's the only thing that matters. For example, we build an intermediate level class, we choose a partner, but the concept that we want people to leave knowing more, understanding more, and performing better is the pre-movement. If the pre-movement is better, we are happy. We see that people understood. We see that people will be able to work on the pre-movement in any other pattern
then, for example,
that they will learn.
Yeah, if we talk about the pre-movement, and then this is the subject of the class, this is the concept that I want to be delivered and understood. I can use the viradinha to deliver this concept, which I show where it works in the viradinha. And viradinha is something that it's from the foundation, so it's probably going to be accessible for the majority of the people in the class. It's not going to be something that people need to learn the movement to understand the concept, because they know the movement already. So it makes my job easier because they focus on what I want, not in the figure. But I could use any other thing, lateral. I could use the basic step itself. I could use many things. If it's a more advanced class, I can bring it to a head movement, a pattern that requires a head movement, and show all the pre-movements there. So as you can see, I have a catalog of movements to choose when I want to work with a concept that is clear in our head when we want to teach. So then the movement we are going to use, it's going to be more according to the group we have. Sometimes we plan to do a certain movement, and when we see the crowd, we make another one, or we teach another one more difficult with higher level, or sometimes we just downgrade a little bit so it becomes more accessible to everyone, because we see that there are some things missing. And that's why that's how you get some flexibility, because the concept is clear. Then you go in your catalog, and then you're going to see the best pattern of movements or sequence that is going to best showcase the content, the concept.
Exactly. So this is something I would say that this is one of the most important tips that we had for today, because it's really what's going to make people leave your class feeling that they really got something out of it, because when we just learn a new pattern, I think most people use around 10% of their pattern library that is in their mind on the dance floor.
They know 300 movements, but they use 10 max.
We always we create kind of our kit, and those are the ones that we repeat over it. It may change during the time that we learn some new things and then we create a new kit, right? But we don't use all the patterns that we ever learned. So that's why what is the most important and what makes people feel that they are leaving your class really getting something out of it is that if you focus on making sure that they have 1, 2, 3 concepts, depending on how much you think you can deliver, really clear and in a way that they really understood, and it's something that they're going to be able to use in their dance, in the other things they already did, and things they're going to learn in the future as well.
It's going to be taken with them. So this is going to be, I think, the most helpful tip of this list,
Yeah, so guys, those were 4 little tips that we had for you guys if you are entering the industry now, if you are starting to teach in festivals now, or if you have taught in festivals for a while but wanted to know a little bit more about how to plan a class, an effective class, a class that people are going to leave feeling that they took something out of it, not only a pattern, not only a new move. Those were the tips that we separated for you. Those are the core things. Of course, there's much more that to take into consideration. We could stay divide this live in many other lives.
Yeah, there are a lot of things to talk about, but it's just like.
But we think those 4 are some things that are really important for us to pay attention, and it's good to have as a checklist to plan for when you are preparing your class.
Guys, if you have any question, anything that you want to know about classes, you can put in the comments either on Facebook or on YouTube, and then we can still answer this. But we are gonna wrap up the live for today because we are gonna. Our idea was more to give you the parameters so you can have a guideline of like, okay, this is what I need to think about in the class, because you don't want to finish your class and realize that maybe 60%, only 60% got the content that you wanted to deliver. Okay, this is, of course, that don't get desperate, because of course, if you are, as Andressa said, if you are getting in the industry, if you're just starting, there is all the things that you are nervous, maybe there is the language issue, you are dealing with the English that maybe you don't speak very well yet, or another language. There are a lot of things that may not help you to be comfortable to do the best you could do, but that's the way it is, and then you're gonna improve with time. But you need to keep in mind that you need to, as you have extra difficulties that you cannot solve yourself, these things about the structure of your class, you can solve it and you can plan it. And those are gonna be less things to deal with when you are in the field doing your job. Okay, so think about these things, plan ahead, don't get stuck, open the possibilities, and have the core structure clear. Then the movements you work around.
All right, guys. So on that note, we're gonna wrap up for today. Sorry for the noise, and we hope to see you next Monday.
Yeah, guys. So stay with us, hit the like button, and I'm gonna answer the phone. All right, guys.
Okay, guys.
See you.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.